Hey y'all, just wanted to let y'all know here I've been making great strides in my mental health, and I'm really happy to be back on YouTube. So yeah, I'm really excited for Switch 2, and I wanted to break down, how I feel like speed running on Switch 2 is going to look like. So first, let's go ahead and do a little recap here on the specs we're looking at so far. So we're looking at a unlike the Switch 1, which was effectively a NVIDIA Shield tablet. So it was a lot of an amalgamation of 2015 off-the-shelf parts, quite antiquated for the bleeding edge tech of 2017. Comparatively here, Switch 2 is taking a much more aggressive stance of like being a bit more future proofed with a lot more technology integrated into it. And with that, the Switch 2 is going to have a custom engineered NVIDIA GPU that will incorporate some of the features that you may know from the high-end PC market from NVIDIA, including deep learning super sampling, known commonly as DLSS, where it'll be able to redraw a lower resolution of a rendered game and 1080p or even 4K. So rather than the game needing to be rendered at 720p or 1080p, you can just render it at like 480p when handheld and just, and have the AI redraw the frame upscale to a higher resolution. That way it looks crisp and nice to you. Same thing, whenever it's 1080p, it'll render that when docked, and then it'll just redraw every frame to look 4K crispness without adding any input lag or display lag or any of that here. It all works really. We'll go ahead and show you here. Here's a list of the specs that are alleged to be coming. This is like an amalgamation of all the rumors I've been reading here for the last like 2 years now. And we're pretty close to launch this point, so I'm pretty sure that a lot of manufacturers have now like caught word of what parts are being used and all that here. So here you go. We're looking at, triple the amount of RAM from last generation. We're looking at, a respectable amount of internal storage here, a quarter terabyte of storage. And just to kind of give a quantification to the graphical capability here, we're talking about 1.7 teraflops when handheld, and then it'll go from being underclocked to being able to use full utilization and going upwards to 3 teraflops when docked. But keep in mind here, you can still upscale to 4K with the DLSS. And to give a kind of comparison here, we're talking about a PS4 Pro has about 4.2 teraflops of graphical capability, and allegedly Switch 2 will have about 3 teraflops. So it should be able to run it should be able to comfortably run ports of last generation titles quite easily here. So I would finally foresee KH3 coming to Switch 2, for example, and the like, and many, many more things that can make it a very lucrative third-party destination, third-party ports, that is, and new stuff too. Okay, now let's look at things that are confirmed that I can tell you that we already know so far before the direct here, right? So Switch game vouchers do not carry over to Switch 2 exclusive titles. This was revealed actually, I think, like 2 days ago here now. And what that means is that like there's like a digital coupon you can use to buy Switch titles. And when you do, it's like $100, and when you do it, you can you'll be able to like get 2 games for effectively $20 off. But what this confirms here, though, is that like the existing ecosystem of economic bulk buying for Switch titles won't carry over to Switch 2, which either to me means there's going to be a price hike for Switch 2 titles. They'll all be $70 now because Tears of the Kingdom proved to be a positive experiment. Games are more expensive, etc., etc. Or it means that Nintendo Switch Online is going to get an infrastructure overhaul here, and that the Switch game voucher system will just decay because there's going to be a more they will have rethought how to like trap you further in and buy more stuff. Notice here they're also retiring, I think, the Nintendo Gold points too. So then we're getting a whole new thing. I think it's a more likely situation. We're getting a very big new thing for Switch Online too. You'll see here there are 2 USB-C ports. There's one on the bottom to have your Switch 2 docked, but also there's a one on the top as well, potentially for either the convenience of charging from the top, which I do welcome when I'm using it in handheld mode. I feel like the bottom charge port was always pretty annoying here. Or it could be for accessories here. We're not quite sure what it could be. People are going wild here with like a second screen add-on, but I don't know. It could be a million reasons. Confirmed here, Mario Kart 9 does exist. We saw that in the Switch 2 hardware reveal last month. It also will be having 24 player support because the starting line had those like 24 slots vacant there. So we have all those too. Pretty cool. And Switch 2 physically is larger than Switch 1. I'll play here. There's a video from a screen protector manufacturer that back in January 3D printed the Switch 2 based off of the schematics they were able to get for the Switch 2 screen size and then use it to compare to like the Joy-Con they had alleged already seen here as well. So you can see here the comparisons of Switch 1, Switch 2, which Switch 1's already not really pocket size. So Switch 2 being just leaning further into just giving a more ergonomic, larger device to be held, more akin to a Steam Deck, which I will say personally is very, very ergonomic here, is a fat W. It was never pocket size anyway, so handheld versus pocket size, two different things. We're no longer in an era of Game Boy. Okay, so next let's look at the unknowns here, right? So unknowns that we don't, things that we know about that we're not sure what they mean right now. So there is this implied thing where you could have reversible Joy-Cons where, right now the Joy-Cons are a dedicated side of orientation, but potentially you could swap them and put the right Joy-Con on the left, etc. And the screen would just detect that the Joy-Cons are reversed, and then the screen would flip appropriately to just kind of let that happen. Not sure what game would want to do this here, but that's a potential thing here. Next up here, there's a new button that we saw in the hardware reveal, the C button. That C button that's on the right Joy-Con. We don't know what that's for right now. I speculate it could be related to maybe some kind of voice chat function coming to an overhauled Nintendo Switch Online 2. But C for Connect, I'm not quite sure, honestly. We'll have to see. The Joy-Cons here allegedly are going to be getting a Hall effect joysticks, which conventional joysticks right now require, mechanical moving parts from the inside of that, which if you have like humidity or debris get inside of your controller, that can lead to malfunctions such as like joystick drift, which is a problem for all controllers, but it's particularly been brutal for Switch 1 Joy-Cons, as a lot of people can allude to here. So Hall effect joysticks are more expensive, but they are not mechanical in how they function or detect the movement. So they're not faulting to degrade to just decaying over time from extensive usage. So it's kind of like going from analog to digital. Just there's nothing to really degrade over time in this way. The only L is that it's more expensive to manufacture, which, I don't know. They're already, Joy-Cons definitely have to change what they're going to do because the fail rate's been pretty tremendous here. I myself have also fallen victim to joysticks falling apart from after hundreds of hours of use. It's to be expected, but I think it's been pretty bad for Joy-Cons though. So that's really, really good to hear about. And then of course, finally here, the unknowns here. We don't know price, we don't know the exact release date, and we don't know how many SKUs the console will have here. Will there only be one model at $399? Will there be one model at, will there be multiple options, a base model at $399 and then like a OLED screen model higher end with more storage at, $499? Like PS5 digital versus PS5 regular versus PS5 Pro. Don't know. We'll have to see here. We'll have to see what happens whenever we get to that point tomorrow with tomorrow's Direct. All right, so next up here, the actual title of the video, speed running on Switch 2. How are things looking right now? So with that, I do believe here that a lot of speedrunning community is going to be very, very excited for what's going to be happening here on Switch 2. Games that will load faster will definitively see a resurgence in what they're being used for, particularly really heavy games like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, which have like how the game is loaded effectively change how certain glitches work and whatnot. That'll be really, really awesome to see here. I'm so used to just like seeing, Tears of the Kingdom just kind of run at targeting 30 and drop below 30 when you're doing really intensive stuff with the weather effects and having a lot of advanced, NPCs interacting and whatnot. So faster loading will definitely be really big for Mario Odyssey, the new 3D Zeldas, and other things here. Also, higher frame rate is going to be a very big deal for games like, for example, Thousand Year Door Remake, which we've already confirmed here was data mined and showing that it will recognize functions for if to output at 4K and if to remove the V buffer limiting where it can then just go 60 FPS. We've already seen TTYD Remake run on emulator and it runs totally fine here. It's just literally code holding it down from, I guess, a lack of muscle on the Switch 1 possibly here. But yeah, it seems very plausible here that Switch 2 is going to, or TTYD Remake is going to have like an enhancements running on Switch 2 that'll let just do 60 FPS, which may or may not change how speedrunning that will be as well. But either way, yeah, it'd be very, very exciting. Okay, and then the fun part here, Switch 2 exclusives that I'm excited for, right? So we're going to do a yay or nay here in this whole thing, right? So first thing first, new 3D Mario. Yay, definitely here. Mario Odyssey came out October 2017. It's been 7.5 years now since that came out here, so we're long overdue for a new mainline 3D Mario title. I'm very excited here. I personally speculate that this could be either based off the tease of the bonus content of the Mario 3D World re-released on Switch, Bowser's Fury. That was a Mario in a, though very small, very contained, a open world environment. Mario Odyssey is a menu hub based game. And so open world would be a very exciting thing to see here. The continuous, uninterrupted playable segments of Mario traversing from world to world, hub to hub, continuously. What would open world Mario look like? What would Peach's Castle in Mario 64, but expanded upon the level design ideas seen, for example, in Bowser's Fury, look like for a new 3D Mario? I would expect that, but I'm also totally vibing if we get like just Odyssey 2. I think Odyssey 1 fucking bangs, and I'd love to see just more of that as well. So I'm just kind of a Mario slow all around here. I'll take whatever I can get. I'm really hoping we get a new 3D Mario revealed tomorrow. That'd be super exciting. Next up, Mario Maker 3. I'm going to say actually nay here. Mario Maker 2, from what I recall here, did not meet sales expectations. When you look at the big breakdown of like top selling Switch titles, Mario Maker 2 was kind of outdone by quite a few titles, honestly. It sold great, but for Nintendo standards, I mean, millions and millions is kind of like the expectation at this point. So Mario Maker 3, for me to even really also want it, I would really want to see more of those online features for Switch Online 2 to be really expanded here. I think most people have a pretty negative experience playing Mario Maker 2 because you're so much bad levels and slop throughout the day. It is kind of admirable to let just unfiltered garbage reign supreme all over the super expert mode, but people want to play good levels ultimately here, and having quality filtering would go a long way. Removing bookmarks to Mario Maker 1, lacking Miiverse makes things feel less intimate, and then also just the having two games where just the online mode just sucks ass is pretty fucked. So I would need to see some tremendous improvement on NSO 2 to make Mario Maker 3 for me even the thing I want on the radar. I'm indifferent towards that one. New Yoshi. I don't know. I mean, Crafted World was kind of a hot mess. The soundtrack was very like repetitive, and we're talking about a game that is like 7 out of 40 levels are auto scrollers. I don't know. It's kind of a hard one to revisit here. Yoshi tends to get like a visual gimmick, and then the gameplay is like a very simplified version to just kind of like let the gimmick do its thing. So a new Yoshi probably will happen. We get one every generation, but is it something I'm excited for? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's been tough for me. I've been eating shit on Yoshi games, yearning for more of that Yoshi Island original stuff for decades now. So I'm just kind of used to it now. It's whatever. Well, thank you for listening here. So look, tune in tomorrow. I'm doing a speedrun gauntlet to count down the excitement for Switch 2. When Switch 2 releases here, when we get dates and all that here, I'm going to go super hard in the content. I want to be your go-to destination for Switch 2 speedruns and whatnot. So tune in. I'm going to be here very European friendly. I'm doing Golden Yoshi's Island into the Kaiser Yoshi Island into Mario Odyssey. And then we're doing a shitpost bingo live reaction to Nintendo Direct. And we'll see what happens here, y'all. I'm hyped to see what we're going to get here. I will see y'all then on my Twitch. Here's the link. Check it out. I love you all. I got to go because I got to get ready for it. So good night.